the stage. Hey, sports fans. This is Robert with WTP Sports Dudes. Here I am going live, and I ain't even on the screen yet. Man, I got a chance to watch two very well. Before I even get started, please hit the like button if you're watching. Please hit the subscribe button. Share our videos. We're trying to reach 300 subscribers by the end of November. So hopefully we can get those 300 subscribers. We're trying to get all the way to 500 and even beyond that. But our next goal is 300 subscribers. Please make sure that anytime you watch any of our videos that you hit the like button. Man, I'm so glad I'm able to get on this morning to be able to share some thoughts on football, college football, that is. So today, last night, um, I watched the Syracuse and UNLV game, and this game went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I really thought that Syracuse was going to blow them out once they went up 14-0. But of course, UNLV, they stormed back with that Brennan Marion go-go offense. He's the offensive coordinator for UNLV. They stormed back. They take the lead uh, 21 to 14, and then it was 21-17. And the game just kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I mean, a really good contest. But then when you go and you look at the stats, and you're like, wow, Cal McCord for Syracuse threw 63 passes. 63 passes against UNLV, a team that you would think that Syracuse would be able to run the ball on and not have to throw 63 passes to win a game 44-41 in overtime. I mean, it was just shocking. But guess what? They also ran 96 plays. Syracuse had 96 plays to UNLV's 50 plays. I'm like, dude, you cannot allow a team to run 96 plays on you. Now, some of those plays was in overtime, but some of UNLV's plays was in overtime too, and they only got to 50. And Syracuse got 96 plays. You cannot leave your defense out on the field that long and then go into overtime and think they're going to be able to hold up. It's just not going to happen, man. 96 plays? Wow. That's way too much. So hopefully UNLV will find a way to play complementary football so that they don't have to allow a team to run 90 plays on them. That's just way too many plays. They almost doubled them up in plays. Syracuse against UNLV. How you doing, Level Up Sports 10?
Good morning. Doing pretty good. Pretty good. Thanks for having me as usual. Always another
Are you
Saturday
muted?
football.
I can't hear you. Are you muted?
No, I'm not muted at all.
Oh man, I wonder what's going on. I can't hear you. Let me see something.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
Oh man, I wonder what that is. I can't hear you. Let me see. Yeah, your mic shows that you're unmuted, but I can't hear you.
Yeah, that's weird. I
Let
don't
me
know
see
why.
something. Let me see if I can change something around on this mug. Audio reduce. Man, I still can't hear you. I wonder what that is. Let me see something.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I can't hear you now.
All right, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, man. I was trying to plug this new mic up, man. And I guess the new mic blocks you from being able to say what you got to say. But all right, we good to go. So
Cool.
last night I was watching that Syracuse and UNLV game. How you doing, by the way, this morning, bro?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Can't complain. I was a little late getting my coffee, man. They had
Oh yeah,
to switch it from an iced coffee to a regular coffee.
yeah. That's cool. That's cool. So
Everything.
yeah, I'm watching that game last night, man, and I'm like, come on, man. I really thought, like what we said on the broadcast before, I really thought Syracuse was going to thump UNLV,
Yeah.
and it looked like they were going to in the beginning of the game. And then, of course, Ben and Marion and that go offense, they started going for UNLV. And
Yeah.
then I look at the stats this morning, and I'm like, Syracuse ran 96 plays. 96 of those was Cal McCord threw 63 passes.
Yeah.
And UNLV only had 50 plays, man.
That's it. And I'm like, he threw the ball as much as y'all possessed the ball, really. And
Right.
that at the end of the day, like it was only a 3-point win, but I think those are key points and factors in a game. And I like how we be looking at and breaking down to really see what was, played a part in that. And the defense wore down. When you on the field that long, your defense wear down, they get tired, and that attack is going slow with you not possessing the ball.
Yeah, because I think at one time UNLV was up 38, I think 38-31.
Yeah.
And Syracuse ended up tying the game up. But I'm like, at that point, you up 7. Your defense is too tired, man. You got to play some kind of. I mean, maybe they tried to. I don't know. I fell asleep after halftime.
Yeah, it was their defense was tired. I fell asleep right after that too. I was like, man, I'm trying to hang. I was like, nah, my phone ain't gonna allow me. I'm going to sleep tonight.
Yeah. So I ended up going to sleep. But I tried to catch a little bit of that Oregon and Michigan State game. Michigan State offensively, man, they are pitiful, man.
Pitiful. And I know we was in a group thread talking about Marsh, and I think if that quarterback, I watched that game a lot. That quarterback is under duress so much to where he don't have enough time to see it. And I seen him open on the go route. I seen him open on the hitch route. I mean, he gets open. It's just the quarterback don't have no time to go through his progressions in order, to get him the ball. And I think that, that's something that we talk about. Some of these kids transferring because of things like that. Now when you see, how great of an athlete he is, like I really watched him yesterday, and I'm like, this kid is tall. He's a freak of an athlete, and you just got to get him the football. But, if he stays, that shows loyalty, and that shows that he want to continue to work with that quarterback, which I could see them two being a great combination with that Michigan State football team in the years to come. So, just a few things I looked at. And Oregon next week is going to show us a lot. I just think, at times I've seen a great Oregon football team. Let me not say that and speak on that, but I still feel that there's going to be some things that go on next week, within the trenches and even in the secondary. I think that we're going to really see how good this Oregon team is.
Yeah. I watched a little bit of it, and man, that Nick Marsh kid, listen, he had 3 receptions for, I think, 58 yards. He was averaging 18 point something yards a catch, which lets you know, listen, this guy can go.
Yeah.
And like you said, he just needs to get on the same page. His quarterback need to get on the same page with him.
Yeah. And, he's coming off an injury, but I think still with him coming off the injury, he had a great game, prior to injury, which was, I think, almost 200-yard game, so that goes to show. I mean, it's definitely talent, and I've looked at that as well. Another freshman, and this freshman class we have, man. I think we're going to be in good hands with college football. It's going to be worth getting up and watching some football every Saturday as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I seen Evan Stewart for Oregon, the wide receiver, got hurt in the end zone. I don't know if he came back in the game or not. He fell kind of funny on his backside, and but I think he only had 2 receptions for 20 yards and a touchdown. But I don't know if he came back in the game or not. So I try to watch him because his stepmom used to work at Windsor back in the days.
Okay.
And so they were at the game last night, Pam Turrentine. So I was trying to, you know, check out Evan Stewart. I actually wanted Evan Stewart to end up going to Texas right out of high school, but he chose A&M and then decided to go in the portal and go to Oregon. So I try to check him out, you know.
Definitely. That's a good catch, too.
Yeah. All right, well, we got some shakeups in the 12-team college football playoff after week 5. We got Utah and Ole Miss falling out of that ranking, and we got Michigan and Iowa State replacing those two.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I really thought if UNLV won that game, they would probably be the team that would probably represent the group of 5 in the 12 playoff, but that loss might hurt them. But I mean, they still got time to beat Boise State out for that spot.
Yeah, I agree. Still, you know, that Big 12 and you know, that division itself, they're pretty tough. I noticed that with Boise State, you know, UNLV, a few other teams this year just making some noise, especially Iowa State as well. And Michigan they're crawling back in. You know, they're winning games. At the end of the day, that shows. I think that goes to show if you win the games, you definitely can crawl back in. You know, whether they're ugly win, but a win is a win now. I think in college football, week by week.
Listen, not getting a loss. I don't care how you win.
Yeah.
If you win, you're in good shape because you cannot afford to take no losses. That's for sure.
Not one.
Cannot afford to take no losses. So at number 12, we got Boise State. At 11, we got Michigan. At 10, we got Missouri. At 9, we got Penn State.
Wow.
At 8, we got Oregon. At 7, we got Georgia.
Whew, showing love to Georgia.
Right. At 6, we got Tennessee. And from number 1 to number 5, we got Texas. At number 4, we got Iowa State. At 3, we got Miami. At 2, we got the Ohio State Buckeyes. And from number 6 to number 1, we got Alabama, the Crimson Tide.
Wow, that is a shake up for you.
That's a real shake up, right?
Man.
Like, wow. After 1 week, though, you know what I'm saying? So every week you already know
every week
there's going to be, because now teams are in the heart of their conference. Some good games, some games that mean a lot. So you have to really win every week in order to position yourself in this to get a chance in this 12-team playoff. Excuse me.
Definitely.
So the first game we got going, we got Boise State at number 5, Texas, and the winner will play Iowa State. This game will probably be in Louisiana. No, it'll be in Texas. I'm sorry, because this is the first round. So it'll be in Texas. What's your thoughts on that one? Will Ashton Jeanty get his numbers against Texas?
I'm gonna say Ashton gets 100. I don't think he gets that wonderful 200, you know, type of game against the Texas defense. I'm not saying that he's not a great running back. I'm giving him 100 yards, and that's tough to get, you know, against Texas within itself. They're not allowing too many running backs at 100 if they've allowed any this season. But with having Ewers back, I think that puts Texas in a whole different level of a team. Having him back, that's something they've been waiting for. You know, that gives the defense a different momentum. That gives the offense a different outlook. And one thing I notice about the defense when Ewers is there, and they out there, they go hard because they know when they get that ball to Ewers, they know what he's going to do. He's putting points on the board, whether it's 3 points, you know, in a field goal or a touchdown. And they know they're going to be rowdy. They're going to be out there ready to play some more defense and get that ball back. I got Texas. I got Texas in this one. Nothing against Boise State, but I just feel at this point, Texas stepping up on that backside of the ball in the secondary, getting a lot better and tougher. I got them by 14 in this game on Boise State.
Yeah, I agree with you. I believe he's going to get 100 yards. If they can really control the clock and control the possessions with their running game, they can really shorten that game up and get Texas 7-8 possessions and make it a game. But, you know, you automatically know right off the bat, Texas is going to try to keep him from getting any yardage because they know that's their bread and butter. So if they get some 3 and outs, Boise State is in trouble because they're not going to be able to stop Quinn Ewers and that offense. Even if it was Manning, they wouldn't be able to stop that offense.
It's a lot faster.
But I definitely got Texas winning that game by at least 14. Definitely. Next up, we got number 11, Michigan at number 6, Tennessee. And the winner will play Miami.
This is a tough game, but the one thing that I can say, I know a lot of people have been questioning Michigan. We all also have thoughts on Tennessee as well, but Michigan's defense is stout. Got to respect the defensive team. Even they may have their struggles on the offensive side of the ball, but I think at this point in the season, they'll find ways to incorporate a nice pistol attack, possibly some kind of passing attack to where it'll benefit this team. You never know. They may bring that other quarterback in and go with a 2-quarterback system, which will possibly benefit them as they continue to win. But that defense, Johnson at that cornerback position, I think he just makes a difference on that defense, especially the secondary, and he takes their number 1 target out. And once you do that with Tennessee, slow their passing game, I think they can definitely pull that win out, at least by a touchdown.
Man, that would be a really, really good matchup. Because like you said, it'll be Michigan's defense against Tennessee's offense.
Yeah.
And when you look at that Oklahoma game, Oklahoma didn't have much offense, but they were still in that game because defensively they were able to stay in that game. And I believe Michigan will be able to do the same thing. But also Michigan has a much better running game than Oklahoma has.
Yeah.
And I think that Michigan can win this game against Tennessee simply because they're going to be able to run the football. And by that time, Orji should be able to make certain passes in their offense, especially to Loveland at tight end. And I got Michigan winning that game. I think they can beat Tennessee.
Yeah. Same thing. That offensive line and that running game for Michigan is different. It's looking different week by week. I've watched them, and it's getting better. You know, so even Edwards is not just hitting the hole. He's being patient at times, I've noticed too. So that's a good sign for Michigan moving forward.
Definitely. Next up, we got number 10, Missouri. And number 7, Georgia. And the winner will play the number 2, Ohio State Buckeyes. Man, Missouri at Georgia. What's your thoughts on that?
Two teams that been shaky all season to me. Really haven't played too many opponents in Missouri. And I noticed they're telling people all across the world and, you know, social media at times, like, we really a good team. Well, y'all can show us today because y'all got Texas A&M. But I do got y'all losing this game to Georgia. Georgia is the big brother, uncle, you know, pops to y'all in the SEC. So I think y'all definitely have a tough test against them. And if you asking me at this point, will Georgia even be in? I don't know. And this is picking on, based on how they're coming at us now. And these are two teams I honestly don't think of being a playoff come into the season, which is just a tough pick even to look at now also. That's just my thoughts on these two teams.
I believe if this matchup did happen, that Georgia will be able to win. But I'm like you. I don't think Georgia's getting in the 12-team playoff, man.
Yeah.
I don't think they're getting in. I think there's going to be another team in the SEC outside of Texas and Alabama that squeak in there. Whether it be an Ole Miss or Tennessee, possibly even Missouri, but the schedule that Missouri has.
That's what they got, yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, because I definitely can see if I'll say this: if Texas beats Georgia in 3 weeks, well, it'll be 2 weeks now since today is Saturday.
Yeah.
They beat them in 2 weeks. Georgia is really in trouble of not making the 12-team playoff.
Yeah, I think at that point,
Texas to do so.
If they lose that game in a couple of weeks, whether they win these next few or not, because I know we talked about that 4-game stretch for Georgia, I think that you can't hold them in no top 15 or any of that because they're losing games to where they have to show who they are. You can't be down 30-7 and expect to get all this love and excitement from the committee. Because me personally, y'all shouldn't have been down 30-7 if y'all feel that good, and to lose that game, that's just my opinion. I agree with you with that Georgia team.
Yeah, definitely. Next up, we got number 9 Penn State at number 8 Oregon, and the winner will play number 1 Alabama.
Man, and if we talk about quarterbacks, and if you ask me, I'm gonna go with Oregon's quarterback. I'm gonna go with Oregon's offense over Penn State's offense. This is my brother team and my boy Bakar's team. I know this will be a banger. Definitely that, of a game, but I would just have Oregon, the strength of what Dylan Gabriel can do with his legs. I don't think Penn State's quarterback would be able to escape the pressure at times to get that ball off with, moving his legs, and the ability that Oregon has that way. And at times when their defense is playing, and I think this is a team that if they step up in this game defensively, they could definitely get Penn State for sure.
Yeah, last week, the way things fell, it was Big Ten against SEC. This week, the way it fell is SEC against SEC and Big Ten against Big Ten.
Yeah.
Even though you did have that Michigan and Tennessee game, this game, man, will really be, man, that's
fire.
Almost like a flip them.
Yeah. And that's how you look at it, because the Penn State team, they winning. At the end of the day, they're not in this position for no reason. We talk about winning. They're doing just that. They have a game this week. We'll be able to see a little more out of them, see what they are. But, they keep winning. They're going to be there. And that's, I think, the key with this team. Exactly, because no one's really had a chance to see them except them and knowing what they are and their fan base. But I'm going to definitely check them out today. And, Oregon, they have, if I see something in Penn State, I think about this pick today, like, man, I should have picked Penn State. But I like that Oregon team. That offense is moving, and the defense steps up when it needs to.
You know what? I like Oregon in this game as well, simply because they just have a whole lot of speed and a whole lot of talent on that team.
Agreed.
And they pretty decent defensively as well.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that Oregon can win this game. It's going to be a battle, though. It's going to be a close battle.
Yeah.
Two Big Ten teams. But I'm taking Oregon as well in that game to advance on to play number 1 Alabama. Next up, we got number 5 Texas versus number 4 Iowa State. What's your thoughts on that one?
I'm thrown by the fact that I'm looking at Texas being number 5 this week in the playoff ranking. I'm just, sitting back at that like, wow. I got Texas, man. Iowa State, nothing against y'all. Texas at Ewers is back. It's a different team, man. Different brand of ball. Texas in the win. And I'm gonna say Texas by 10. I'm not gonna say 14 because Iowa State, I mean, they're proving us wrong. And I'm gonna check them out today a little more. But I think that team has got some transfers along with the class that they had prior to previous years sticking together and showing loyalty with each other. Just add some transfers and it's paying off for them. So I still got Texas winning. I just think with them being in this position for the first time, I don't think they'll be ready for everything that comes along with that in the playoff.
Yeah, Iowa State, man, that defense they run, that 3 high safety, that's Steve Sarkisian and Texas kryptonite.
Yeah.
That 3 high safety, man, gives Texas issues. And Iowa State is one of those teams that has always given Texas issues since Steve Sarkisian has been there with that 3 high safety. And the key to beating it is you got to have a nice running game. And the backs out the backfield. You got to be able to get that off. And Texas is very good at both of those things. So I think that Texas, like you said, can get them by 10 points. 14 might be a little bit much, but I definitely can see Texas beating them by 10. I don't see them beating them by 2 touchdowns, though, because that 3 high safety will give Texas some issues, especially trying to throw the ball down the field. They just don't allow you to do that with that 3 high safety.
Yeah.
But I do got Texas winning that game. Next up, we got number 11 Michigan versus number 3 Miami. Man, what's your thoughts on that one? That's a tricky one right there.
That's what I was about to say. That's a tricky game. When we it's funny because when we did our last rankings of trying to find them, there we go. We had this same game matchup, which is crazy. The last couple of weeks, we've had that those matchups, that Michigan, Tennessee, that Michigan, Miami. I'm sticking with Miami. And the reason I'm sticking with Miami, even with the way they played against Virginia Tech, if I know we watch football, and Virginia Tech, they always play Miami tough like that. And for me, I think that was a lesson learned for Miami. I know the team's learning lessons, and they not going to let anything come across or slip up that easy. So I think they come out, they're attacking on all cylinders. They're definitely going to put that 8 in the box. We know Miami, when it comes to a team with a running game, they're going to drop it in the box and make you do what you do best. And those safeties and DBs for Miami, some of the linebackers that move like they're DBs and safeties, I think they have a field day and force Michigan and pass. And that's Michigan's kryptonite. And I think that's where Miami would get this win, having forced Michigan to pass the ball. And I just don't think they can get that job done against this Miami defense.
Yeah, the difference in this game for me is Miami's tight ends, because they got tight ends and they're going to be able to take advantage of Michigan's linebackers with those tight ends, much like Texas did with Gunnar Helm.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the difference in the game. They're going to take a page out of Texas book and use their tight ends all day against Michigan's linebackers, and that's going to be the difference. And I think Miami will probably get them by 3 to 7 points in that game, because it's going to really be a pretty low scoring game, in my opinion, because I think Michigan's defense will be able to slow down Miami's offense to where the game will be close, and it'll be a low scoring game, probably in the low 20s, mid 20s, something like that.
Agreed.
Yeah. Next up, man, I don't know about this game. Number 7 Georgia versus number 2 Ohio State. Can the Buckeyes get some comeback against Georgia from that last matchup they had a couple of years ago when Georgia won the national championship? What's your thoughts on that?
I say after seeing what Bama was doing to him, 30-7, I feel like the weapons that Ohio State have, they could come out and almost do the same thing possibly. The question in this game for me, and the question throughout the season is going to be for me, and I'm watching this closely, and I'm sure City League is going to watch and he can agree, is the linebackers. If Ohio State's linebackers could come out and play in a game like this, I actually think their linebackers would get turnovers and get pick six. Where we used to their DBs doing that, we used to seeing their linebackers as well. And it's been a couple of years since seeing their linebackers really be active and returning that ball. And I think these first 5 games so far, I haven't seen the linebackers active. And if the activity within that middle gets better for Ohio State, I think this is a game where they turn around and they tell Georgia, we haven't forgot. And we're going to put something on y'all special. But I definitely have them beating Georgia. And like I said, Georgia's not a team to me anymore this year. I'm actually waiting for somebody to knock them off again and get them up out of this playoff, because I just don't feel that they're a team that is deserving of where they're at, even though they play how they played against Alabama and were undefeated up until that point. It's just not the same Georgia team to me.
Yeah, you're right. They're just not the same Georgia team. They don't control the defensive line like they did when they won those 2 national championships. And I'm starting to see now that they got some talent at the defensive backfield position, but they're not as good as I thought they were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Teams have been able to do some things against them. And what they're going to face before they even get a chance to even get in the 12-team playoff is they're going to face they already faced Ryan Williams, and you see what he did to them. They're about to face these Texas wide receivers. Then they're going to end up facing Ole Miss's Trey Harris. Man, listen, when you don't have a defensive line that can control the line of scrimmage, that can get after the quarterback, and you give a quarterback time to find his main guys, that's a recipe for disaster for Georgia, because they're not able to do that.
I agree.
And Ohio State will be able to do all those things and still run the football because you don't have a defensive line. So I'm taking Ohio State to beat Georgia in that game, even though I think it could be a good matchup, especially on paper. It looks really good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And
but I think Ohio State would be too much for them.
And is it Judkins, that running back? Is he from Ole Miss or Georgia?
He's from Ole Miss.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he got very good experience playing against that team. So I think that's a heads up for Ohio State. So he's going to want to play tough in that game too. So Georgia's in a whole world of trouble.
I think so too. Next up, we got number 8 Oregon versus number 1 Alabama. I know this is a matchup that Oregon does not want to have to face.
Man, you know how I am about this Alabama team, little brother. Gerald, I know you may be watching. I'm sorry, bro. Ryan Williams, I'm big on that kid, man. He's a specimen. He's a chosen one of the chosen few. I think him and Milroe, they go out and they have a field day, man. I don't know what it is about Ryan Williams. I watched that Georgia game, the highlights, how you found somebody for your Texas. And that kid is not only great at what he do, catching the ball, man, he's a smart kid.
Yeah.
And watching him pregame, having fun, all the different stuff, I watch closely to that. And still, when you show his game face, when you lock into that camera 10, 15 minutes before the game, you could throw all that out the window. He's not even that same person that was doing all that. His mind, he's locked in. And when you see a kid at that age, I think he has one thing on his mind. That's getting that national championship, man. And I think Oregon will be in a way. Bama's defense is getting stronger. I just want to see how they corner step up and their safeties throughout the season for sure. But I still have Bama winning this game just because of that defensive line. I think they defensive line get the push and causes problems in that backfield for Oregon, which has been a thing that has kept them away from winning big games and championships as well.
Yeah, I agree with you about that Ryan Williams, man. And the thing that really hurts me is the fact that when Nick Saban decided he was going to retire, Ryan Williams jumped in the portal, bro. I mean, not in the portal, but he decommitted from Alabama. And
Yeah.
listen now, Texas has his high school quarterback already committed to them. I said, oh man, we getting Ryan Williams. We lost on Corey and Moore. We about to
Yeah.
get Ryan Williams, bro. And man, Kalen DeBoer did his thing, man, and got Ryan Williams to come back. What I think people don't realize is his route running is a beast.
Man.
That kid can run them routes, man.
Yeah.
And I was
Definitely.
hoping that we were getting. And I think that that's going to be the difference in that game. Plus, Milroe, man, I got to give him a shout out, man, because listen, he worked on his passing craft in the offseason. He's
Definitely.
no longer just a deep ball thrower, man. He can throw the intermediate stuff. Now, it might be off a little bit, but it's always in the area where his player can catch the football. It's not
And you
always
said it.
precise,
Yeah.
but it's where his players can catch the football. And he's really improved in that area, man.
Yeah, and I think that's something I think that people fail to realize. Like when you're trying to get it to your player as fast as your player is moving so fast. You know, you got to know how fast your receivers move, and everybody moves at a different speed. But like you said, he's throwing it to where his players can make a play, and I think that's all you can ask for in progression and continued progression. And how everybody thought he was just a running quarterback or a running back last year. He's proven everyone wrong and putting his draft stock up when it comes to just the quarterback itself, for sure.
All right, next up, we got number 3 Miami versus number 2 Ohio State. That's
a tough one. These last few is tough. If you ask me right now, I'm going OSU. They a complete team, and I even throw a little edge of watching a Virginia Tech game because Miami was at home in that game. You know, it was against a Virginia Tech. So if you put them on neutral field against the Ohio State team, fast forward up until this point, Ohio State wins. Will it be a banger? Yes, it's going to be a great game. Will it be close? I say Ohio State could possibly win this by a couple touchdowns because of their defense. And I think if you ask me at this point in the season, if Ohio State's defense stepping up and being better, will they be better than Miami's defense? I think so, because collectively, you're talking about the linebackers, you're talking about the secondary, you're talking about the defensive line, in which we're still waiting on Sawyer to really show his name, Tua, and, you know, the linebacking core, of course. You know, Powers need to be out there more, as well as Styles showing his name. So if you ask me at this point, I'm taking Ohio State, because when you put that defense together and they're out there and they're playing, and you hearing this name, it's different levels that you're hearing. You're going to hear the defensive line, the linebackers, and the DBs. In any way, you're going to hear them, and they're going to make some noise. So I think Ohio State's defense makes a difference in this game, and it keeps a lot of pressure off Will Howard. And I think they're starting to notice at times they're going to have to step up defensively to take some pressure off of Howard, because in some of these games, he's kind of, you know, if it's a different team, you kind of wonder, will they make that same mistake, or will that team be able to score off of that turnover? So I think the defense needs to step up a lot more to take some pressure off of Will Howard in these next few games as well.
Man, this is the only way Miami got a chance to win this game is they have to be able to run the football and control the clock and keep Ohio State's offense on the sideline, which is a very, very tall task when you look at the defense that Ohio State has, the players that they have over there anyway. Um, but Ohio State's defensive ends and their linebackers, they got to get better, man. They haven't been
Yes.
as good as I thought they were going to be in comparison to how well they played last year. Those guys are really going to have to. They got a lot of experience, but they haven't. But again, it could be the competition too, and the fact that they rotate a lot of players. But in games like this, they're going to have their main dudes out there a lot longer than normal,
Yeah.
and those guys have to make plays. And their linebackers, like you said, have got to get better than what they have been so far this season. And I think they probably will once they start playing some of those teams that are a lot better than the ones that they played so far. So I guess Oregon next week will be a really good test for them to see if they are what we believe they can be.
Right.
But I definitely think Ohio State wins this game against Miami probably by 2 scores. And not 2 field goals. I mean
2 scores.
2 touchdowns. I could see them executing them like that. Yeah. This one right here is going to be a tough one, man, because we got number 5 Texas versus number 1 Alabama. And I'll go first on this one, Mossberg. Listen, this is a totally different Alabama team than the one that Texas beat last year, second game of the season in Tuscaloosa. They're not going to make the mistake and not run Jalen Milroe in this game like they did last year in Tuscaloosa. Jalen Milroe's legs are going to be in full effect. And our defensive coordinators know that. So they're going to have a spy on Jalen Milroe, and it's probably going to be Anthony Hill to make sure that Jalen Milroe does not get out that pocket. The thing that I think Texas will probably have an advantage against Alabama is they got guys coming off the edge that can give Jalen Milroe some trouble. When you got Colin Simmons coming off, you got Trey Moore, you got Ethan Burke, who had a huge game against Alabama last year. If Texas can do that, they're going to be in good shape. But if they can't contain Milroe, they're in trouble. So I'm not really going to pick one on this one because I really don't know. Either one of them can win this game. Either one can win it. But I'm going to go on whoever you think is going to win it. That's what I'm going to go with.
I agree. And you know me, I'm big on your Texas team. My boy is back. I've been telling people about Quinn since the start of the season. When you have a player of a caliber of him that stays regardless of what's coming in with the classes and continue to grow and be a leader. You beat Alabama, you beat Michigan. You know, we here to a new season. You've gotten, I think, much healthier. I think he's probably going to come into these next few weeks the healthiest he's been in his career, which is dangerous for a lot of opposing teams because, like you said, and also look at that, the defensive line, y'all's pass rushers, I think that makes a difference. And having that linebacker that can spy on Milroe. I think Alabama's going to come out with quite a offensive playbook for this game, but I still feel that y'all can get the win. Y'all's linebackers and that pass rush. I think that gives y'all the ability to make them speed up the game. And that's one thing for Milroe. I think that's a kryptonite. If you speed that game up for him on a consistent level, I think that's when he starts to make mistakes. And we've seen a little bit in that game last week, but he overcame that. They wasn't consistent enough to continually bring that pressure like a Texas team can and will when it comes to that defensive front. So I have y'all winning, actually, and I have y'all getting them by a touchdown. I want to say 10 points, but I go with 14 the first game, 10 the second game, and I'm going to go with 7 in this game and put y'all in the national championship.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention before I mention this semifinal matchup, I found out that the semifinal matchup games are in Miami and in Arlington, Texas. So if Alabama is the #1 team, they get to choose between playing in Miami or playing in Arlington, Texas. And you know, if they're playing Texas, they're not going to go to Arlington, Texas to play the
Yeah,
Longhorns. They're probably going to
they
go to
not.
Miami,
And y'all still gonna bring
you
the
know,
fan
and
base there. That's the
in
crazy
Miami,
thing.
Ohio State. Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be a home game for Texas if Alabama was to be the #1. Now, just think though, if Texas gets that #1 spot
it's gonna
and
be
they
crazy.
travel through and they get to pick to play in Arlington, Texas, that's a
Man,
home game in the
that's a
semifinal,
home.
bro.
They might as well shut streets down, man, because they don't. I don't think people realize y'all's fan base when it come to Texas. Texas is big when it itself. So when you asking for their football program to be in big games like this and asking if they're gonna bring the fan base, oh, they coming. They coming in boatloads for sure. That's dangerous for teams.
Yeah, and another thing though also is if Texas gets the #1 slot and say Miami gets that third slot,
Yeah.
Miami will get a home game against the Buckeyes if they meet up.
And that changes
Crazy,
things with
man.
that
I did
because
not
you
know
know, yeah, that'll
that
be some
changes things.
fireworks. Yeah, man, that rematch from
That
years
changes
ago.
things. Even though they're gonna get the same amount of tickets, you just never know. So, I mean, some people. I mean, Ohio State fans are gonna travel to Miami. I mean, we
Yeah,
already know that. But
right.
just the thought of Miami being in their home
Yeah,
city, man, it's gonna be off the chain, bro.
gonna be
Off the
crazy,
chain.
man. They're gonna be waiting for it.
Yeah. So we got #5 Texas versus #1 Ohio State, just like we had last week, but only Texas is coming from the 5th position.
I'm
What's
going.
your thoughts on that one?
We talking about linebackers. We talking about the complete up until this point. Question is still stand. What have Ohio State's linebackers done? Have it been the offense and defense playing up front and the secondary and downs just keeping them together that's gotten them this far? Because Texas will make them linebackers pay. That's one thing for sure. And in this game specifically, I think the offensive line, defensive line match up pretty good. When it comes to that pass rush, Texas got it. Texas got a heck of a pass rush, and they got linebackers that's going to play, and they have a proven secondary. So you know me, I'm big on Texas, and Texas gets their first national championship since the Vince Young national championship over USC, and Texas is going crazy. I think when we watch sports, the first thing I looked at coming into this year, and I was thinking, and I was like, man, it's a lot of hype around Texas, and I had done my research, and I was like, this is that year that this is remembering in that history where Texas was just doing what they doing, standing at top. You know, with the quarterbacks they had somebody to back up Vince Young that year as well, but Vince Young just kept excelling and being great. And you had another team that was on a win streak, you know, and you looking at Alabama, you look at Ohio State, you look at how they talking about Georgia, but Texas just kept on chugging away, and they dropped, I think, in the rankings. How I'm looking at them, how they have y'all now, and y'all just kept winning, and y'all ended up winning that national championship, and y'all had a high power offense and a run game, and y'all's defense stood up and played with the defensive line. Y'all had a pass rushed in linebackers, and y'all had a secondary that wasn't the greatest, but y'all had veteran secondaries that was there. I think Thomas was there. I forget the other couple, but they played key parts in that run, and that gave y'all that title. So I'm looking at that same Texas team in 2024 that we witnessed years ago. And if people not paying attention, they might want to start watching some football, start digging into history and paying some respect to it, because this Texas team is dangerous.
Yeah, when I look at the advantages in this game for either team, I think what people probably underestimate how good Texas offensive line is. Them guys, man, they are good, bro.
Yeah.
And almost every week, a Texas lineman has won SEC offensive lineman of the week. Just about every week. And I'm like, man, that offensive line against what is considered Ohio State, probably their most talented defensive line that they've had so far. Them
Right.
guys, they're good, but they're going up against an offensive line that does not give up a whole bunch of sacks. And they got wide receivers all over the place. And like you said earlier, the linebacker position will get tested throughout the whole entire game against Texas. They're
Oh yeah.
not going to let your linebackers be out there and not be able to do things, and they ain't going to take advantage of it. Steve Sarkisian going to find a way to take advantage of that. And they got a tight end that is tough. I
Man,
mean, that's
that boy
so
tough.
I believe Texas will win that game, man. And it's going to be a good game, but I think Texas is going to control the whole entire game from start to finish. And
Agreed.
probably never not lead in that game.
Mm,
Just from what I've seen so far between both of those teams. Texas
good.
really don't have any real weaknesses. They're always able to cover up the fact that they don't have Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy at that defensive tackle position. Those
You
other
can't even
guys
tell.
that they run in and out of there, they've all stepped up. And they
Yeah,
got guys coming off that edge. If you think that guy from Marshall was giving Will Howard issues, wait till you see these dudes coming off the edge for Texas. So I got Texas winning that game as well.
definitely. It's a tough team, man. Like I don't know. It's when you and the thing I noticed too, they don't. It's not really like you hear about um, every receiver. It's not like just one target. You got multiple targets, and I think everyone has almost around the same amount of catches, same amount of yards. So the ball is spread out wealthy, you know, with everyone, and it's just a team. Like you don't really hear much about when it comes to they have this player, they have that player. All you hear about is Arch Manning, and now Ewers being back. But I've always watched them and been a fan of just how they do what they do. They come in and they win, and it's been consistent. And now I think with the switch out of all teams, I think it was best for Texas because they're showing right now being the top of the SEC. You can't ask for nothing more coming from the conference they came from, where everyone felt that it wouldn't be the best switch for them, like they would struggle. They're showing everybody wrong already. That we here for a reason. So I like that team, and I feel they could definitely win it this year.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, we had a couple of years to get prepared for that, and we hired a coach that played and were the coach in the SEC, so he knew what it would take. He knew what he had to go out there and recruit, and we
Yeah,
went out there and we got those big humans that we know we needed to get in order to compete in the SEC. And like you said, a lot of people thought, and they was in my ear all the time, man, y'all gonna be getting thumped against the SEC teams, and I would point out to them, listen. We played SEC teams in bowl games and beat them. We played
yeah,
SEC teams in the regular season and beat them. We already know what we up against. All we got to do is go ahead and get those big human beings like we know we need to get, and we got them. So now
that's
we
it.
ready. We always had the
Yeah.
skill position.
Right.
Always.
You can't tell me Texas not gonna get nothing big in there, right there in the heart of where big football players is at. I mean,
Right.
I think it's an advantage for them. And I've checked into the recruiting. I think we just lost one of our top players to your Texas team, and he was
Yeah.
a 5-star. So we've been losing 5 stars by the week, and people better watch out for Texas, man. I know Ryan Williams was a big signing coming into this year, one of the biggest things we looking at. But these next couple of years, y'all better check out Texas class, man, because they bringing them in by the boatload. And I think y'all definitely a team to watch for sure.
Yeah. A lot of times people look at the fact that in June and July Texas probably got 10 guys that's committed. But the way Steve Sarkisian does his recruiting, man, he recruits you. He's nonstop. He's gonna still
Yep.
recruit you. Like right now, we got a bye week. They are scattered all over the country, going to recruit guys, trying to get guys to flip. So he recruits to the end.
To
And
the
I
end
tell
of
people all the time, Sark After Dark is gonna happen in December, man. He's
Yeah.
gonna get some guys to flip that you thought was coming to your university if you had them already committed. It's gonna happen. He always does it. He's done it every year he's been there. And he's gonna do it again. Now I think we're like 6 in the recruiting class, but back in June and July, they was like, man, Texas is in trouble. They ain't got no recruits. But now they're number 6. And by the time they get done getting all these guys that are out there that they're going after, they're going to end up being in the top 5 for sure. And this will be 3-4 straight years that we've had a top 5 recruiting class. And that's what you got to do if you're going to compete in today's NCAA college football.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What else? As far as it's good we even talking about the recruiter too, because the funny thing I was looking at something, and with the freshman class we got when it comes to these receivers, and I've noticed that Williams has 462 yards and 16 catches. Smith has 19 catches for 364 yards. Marsh have 13 for 262. He's over 300 and about at 20 now, including last night's game, over 300 for sure. And then your boy Wingo with 247 on 11 catches. And Marsh, I think, has missed a game. But I just look at the production and what they bring to the offensive side of their teams. I know college football, I think we're in good hands for the next 3-4 years and even years to come, just seeing the production that they have already and seeing the teams how they're moving with the parity as far as how you mentioned last week with the conference and being undefeated. And I think we still stand very close to that same thing like last week, with those conferences outside still being undefeated. So just has something to think about, look at. Outside of that, they're starting to talk more about Travis. And we've been talking about him. It's finally good that they put the respect on his name that he deserves, but I'm still sit with Milroe, Hunter, and Genty as my top 3 for the Heisman right now. It's nothing that's going to change it until, someone else steps in and make a great performance.
I'm glad that you mentioned Colorado, because I don't know if people noticed last week, they changed their offensive alignment. They went from 10 personnel, which is 1 running back, no tight ends, to 11 personnel, which is 1 running back, 1 tight end. And man, listen, it made a world of difference against UCF. If they continue to run that kind of an offense, for one, you got another guy in there at the tight end position that makes defensive ends have to spread out a little bit wider to get to the rest of the quarterback. And you also got that tight end that can chip. It also helps in the running game. So they can get more. And you've seen they ran the ball a lot better last week than they had been running the football.
Yeah.
And then defensively, they've actually gotten better as well.
Yes.
Listen, I didn't think Colorado was going to win 6 games this year. Colorado has a chance. If they stand out 11 personnel, because you can do so many things out of 11 personnel against a defense, more so than you can do in 10 personnel with just 1 running back and no tight ends. Man, if they stay in that, they can possibly win. They could possibly win the Big 12.
Because when you look at it, BYU, Iowa State, the 2 undefeated teams. Let's just say Iowa State take a loss. They're not the team we may have thought they were, let's just say. And they take another loss. And Colorado just keeps moving. And I felt that I can remember speaking, it was a lot of talk about Colorado prior to him getting there. And I said, man, you give him our second year, they're going to be in the playoffs. That was just my personal opinion, because Deion Sanders only needs 1 year to do whatever it is he's going to do when it comes to bringing players in. Everything else is going to take care of itself. Players is going to want to come. Certain staff is going to want to come. And I think you're starting to see it pay dividends in ways because I don't think no one had them coming out even 4-1 this year. Some people had them predicted to be the same 4-18, but like I said, I watch a lot of what they do when people's not watching, and they put it on film for a lot of us to see. Not everything specifically, but that team is working. And I think, like you said, that 11 makes a whole nother ball game for offenses to choose and defense to think about. But then if you come out with that 10 package one time and they thinking you coming out with 11, like you said, it's just he's starting to see more, and you're starting to see that coaching staff gel and trust in what each other doing, because if you don't change anything up, you're going to have that same start. You're going to be lacking something. So for them to make that change and see the benefit of it, I think that's progression on their behalf. And like you said, the run game definitely looked much better. I think we need to keep an eye on Seton, Big 77, that's protecting Shedeur. He's looking good. He's hardly given up any sacks this season. And their trenches is looking much better by the week. So we got to definitely put some respect on them boys because they're playing great football right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Well, that's all I have for today, bro. Unless you got anything else you want to add, we can go ahead and close out.
Yep, that would be it pretty much. Everything is good. Ready for another great weekend of football.
For sure. All right, bro. Well, I'll talk to you in a little bit later on today.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me as always. Make sure y'all go like, subscribe, WTP Sports Dudes, Level Up Sports 10. Whenever y'all want content, we going to bring it to y'all. Don't matter when, what time, we got y'all.
All right. Peace.
Peace.